No music. We're getting straight into this. Hello, I'm Kevin. I'm the host of Radio Redux. Hello. There's not supposed to be a Radio Redux this week. It's supposed to be a week off. It's my week off generally, and I was hoping, among hope, just to take it, relatively easy. It was going to be a nice episode of LMC Cast, and next week could be LMC Cast as well, and then I'm going to come back with the Radio Redux for Halloween. That was it. That was the plan. Guess we're not doing that. We ain't doing that at all, because we're getting straight into this thing that I'm recording this Thursday, by the way. The story that's come out is to do with our good friends at SEGA being fucking stupid. But what's new? Well, here's the thing. So, the 60th anniversary Go SEGA celebrations have really properly kicked in now. And they're doing this and that, and some of it's very good, and some of it's like, oh yes, we've rebranded all the games on Steam, so it looks like they're from, the era when we were relevant in the console stakes. Even though some of those games that are ports from the Mega Drive and from the Saturn and from the Dreamcast, those won't be in that particular livery at all. They'll just be in a random thing from, Master System to Game Gear or something else. Because, hey, we want to appear... Oh, look, retro. Look, we're celebrating our heritage. Yes, you're celebrating your heritage in the same way as somebody who clearly doesn't know anything about the franchises that you're actually doing this to. So, that's that. The Where's Wally type thing was fun. And it looks like they're going to do some crazy stuff over the course of the next however long. But we'll see what happens, basically. Some of it will hit, some of it will miss. This has missed massively, what's happened now. So, one of the things that they've done is they're re-releasing, like, soon, it seems, if not already, a Golden Axe reboot that never was. It was axed. It didn't make it past the initial stage of development because of multiple reasons. It wasn't. They didn't go with it. So they've taken that and they've shoved it up on Steam as a Golden Axed. And yeah, this is all well and good. But they kind of ignored, like, the story, the reasons why it was axed, and they're presenting it as something other than it actually was. It turns out they've been called on this. So Tim Dawson, who is one of the developers who worked on this, did a very long Twitter thread, which I'm going to read now. And please know, obviously, I sound very bunged up, and that's because I am. I'm completely full of cold and flu. Another reason why I didn't want to do a bloody radio show this week, but damn it, I'm doing it because this is just indicative of this company. And I'm so just frustrated and annoyed with them that they've done this, because they could have done it in a myriad of other ways which screamed actually caring about the things, and instead they've done this, and it is so prototypically Sega that right. So this is from Tim Dawson, whose Twitter account is @ironicaccount, ironically. Woke up to the surprising news that Sega was releasing the Golden Axe prototype I coded in 2012 under crunch conditions. At least I'm not alone. This appears to be a surprise to everyone I know who actually worked on it. This project was my personal nexus of nightmare hours, inept management, industry realizations, and heroics achieved with a small team under unreasonable conditions. So it's an odd feeling to see it surface 8 years later without context, credits, and with a joke title sequence. It exists because Santana Mishra and I had delivered the Castle of Illusion prototype that was maintaining the studio. You might well remember that. A producer we trusted asked us if we could pitch if we could make a polished gameplay prototype for an internal Golden Axe pitch in about 2 weeks to land a second project. We agreed because we were assured management wanted us to develop it our way, i.e. another miracle, please, but did mandate a darker, bloodier Golden Axe with splatter and decapitations and the two-button concept. Sorry, two-button combat. Ugh, so bugged up. So we tried to combine all that with the spirit of the original game. This would have been a difficult line to walk at any time, but we had 2 weeks and no time to iterate. So we made do. We really attacked the design knowing we wouldn't be able to course correct much, but luckily we had a talented team of artists, animators and sound designers. Much less luckily, we also had the lead designer who thought he was designing it, and sometimes Santana Mishra would have to physically block him from reaching my workstation, or we'd start explaining insights he'd received playing the mobile port on the train on the way to work. He took to inventing arbitrary challenges like management wants to see an attack animation playing in game by the end of the day or they'll think the project is in trouble, while I was busy coding enemy AI and the soft lock combo system simultaneously. A week or so in, the lead paid for branching the prototype and making a Streets of Rage pitch concurrently because to him they were the same game. It took me sending a 2 AM email to the studio head and a let's go for a coffee and chat the next morning to get that stopped. But the biggest gut punch came a week and a half in. Combat was working, it was all on track. I was called for a meeting in the big room, so I put the latest build on the network and went to see what was up. All the management was sitting around the big table. I showed the game. Grave faces. There was a pause. Where's the wow factor? Someone asked. The lead designer once again complained it wasn't a God of War like 3D brawler like he wanted. Someone said maybe it had been better to have made a pre-rendered video where the barbarian fought a monster. I experienced a moment of clarity. Either they couldn't see what was in front of them or wanted me to feel bad because it was the only way they knew how to manage. I was the guy who made playable prototypes. I had over-delivered, and if they didn't want that, they had screwed up. I'd been working 14-hour days, but I went home on time that day. I lay on my bed staring at the ceiling. They didn't want it. They wanted something else entirely. I came to my conclusion. They didn't matter. I would continue doing exactly what I intended to do and try to deliver what Santana Mishra and I had planned in the beginning. So I did. Effects and polish were added, more sound implemented, combat timing sped up and input windows widened to make combos executive friendly. The finished build was revealed and the same management team that negged me earlier lined up to tell me how good it was now. I felt dead inside. Not just because of a couple of long 7-day work weeks and start of RSI in my right arm that were going to jeopardise development of Assault Android Cactus, which was an indie shoot 'em up that they did, but because I had no trust left in the people who ran things. From the Steam page, and this was a quote, it's been taken down now, but this was a quote. Golden Axe may be janky, may be buggy, may be an artifact of its time, but it offers a unique glimpse into the prospect of a project that could have been. Tim Dawson then ends the initial thread with go fuck yourself, Parasites. So, yeah. This is the situation. SEGA have, unsurprisingly, when they've been asked about this, backpedaled spectacularly. They issued Video Games Chronicle and various other places reached out to them, and this is the statement that they gave. Okay, SEGA Europe reached out to 4 members of the Golden Axe Reborn dev team to produce this prototype of the game for Steam as part of our 60th anniversary celebrations. We wanted to bring the work of the developers at the time to light and celebrate it as part of our history. Something we didn't get a chance to do first time around. We certainly didn't mean to dredge up painful memories from Mr. Dawson and his former colleagues or appear disrespectful. We removed the line from the Steam copy that could have been taken as a slur on the development. It was! And would like to reassure everybody that it was intended as a comment on the build we had ported to PC, not the quality of the original work. We're hoping lots of fans play the prototype and can appreciate the work he and his colleagues put into developing this prototype. Okay, so this is fine, right? Everything should be fine. Except Mr. Dawson sort of goes, it's funny they say they've reached out to us because, they haven't. So who have they reached out to on this? Who? From the original team in Australia, did they reach out to get this supposedly made and get this supposedly fixed and get the permissions and everything? It makes no sense. It just, like I say, very indicative. So let's put this all on the table, okay? So, treating people like shit, which they clearly did here, is very much part of Sega's makeup, and that's no matter where you are in the chain. Sega have a history of treating producers like shit. They've had a history of treating QA people like shit. They have a history of looking at people as disposable assets, and treating them as such. So it's oddly appropriate, that this has come out. It's oddly appropriate. You want to look back at the history of the company, that's cool. Alright? It's amazing. Sega's an amazing place in terms of the amount of memorable experience that the company has been responsible for. Be that when we were kids and when there's kids now, okay? So, unfortunately, for all of you people who think it's all sunshine and rainbows and they can't do anything wrong, that history also includes lots of experiences like this. From developers. From people in the system. From people who are trying to do their best. For people who love the company. For people who love the fact that they grew up with the company. That history has a lot of that. And no amount of balloons and cake frosting covers that fact up. Sega are not innocent of the worst of crunch culture. And judging by, judging by that line as to how they described it, this project never made it. Oh, this is a janky. Their blasé attitude to the people it affects is still very much in effect, apparently. It's Sega's tactlessness at its worst. So, and even outside them treating people and their work as a punchline, and, ooh, Sega, all jolly and everything, and ooh, social media, and who gives a fuck at this point? You'll note in the initial aspect of that thread, okay, they didn't credit the people who made it initially. Or, care about the people that did. Okay? They're backpedaling now, and they're doing all this other stuff now, because they've gone, oh, whoops. Online, and this was, this is telling. A similar response was actually elicited, I'm sad to say, from Streets of Kamurocho, which is a lovely little mini game looking like this fantastic little mix-up of Streets of Rage and Yakuza. But it's been up to others to point out that the game was developed by Empty Clip and wasn't just something Sega just magically cooked up on its own. They didn't wave their hands and it appeared. It's not developed by the Yakuza studio. It's developed by Empty Clip Studio. And it was up to people on Twitter to go, hey, actually, those guys are the guys who are responsible for it. So maybe, show them a bit of respect and some love, as opposed to just going, woo, Sega, go Sega. Hopefully, and I'm really hoping for this, alright? Hopefully, the Sega fan community, which is usually very good at this, because the Sega fan community has always been deeply respectful of the people at any level within the game development process for the effort that they have put into it. At least, in my opinion, that's what I've found. I'm hoping that the Sega fan community will be able to shine a light on those studios and those people that are involved in these projects in the future, and not have it all disappear under the banner of Go Sega for the purposes of marketing. Personally, I'd be very interested to know of the thought processes involved by those studios and those developers in the creation of these games. The challenges of marrying up various franchises stylistically and possibly from an ideological point of view. How do you keep the essence of each of those things true? How do you keep the essence of Streets of Rage and the essence of Yakuza both true, if you're going to make something like Streets of Kamurocho? And because we know developers do this, what are the little details? What things have snuck in there out of love for the series that they've been involved in? Now, Sega West will probably go to Sega Sammy at the end of all this and go, "Hey, look at this!" And they'll show them some fantastic download figures and or quote unquote purchase figures for the things that are free. And they'll go, "Hey, look, this is the amount of people that are playing this now. Yes, and they're playing it for free." For the people that say that, the people that say that, hey, then they'll use it to go, "Hey, look at this," and they might get more stuff made. Yes, but they've been doing that for the past 15 fucking plus years, and it hasn't done a goddamn thing. So I wouldn't hold my breath for anything relating to that. Sega Sammy, all Sega Sammy have to do is go to the profit and loss sheet, look at their marketing sales for anything that they've done for any of those games and go, "Well, actually, that's made butt kiss in its entire lifetime." Guess what? If you're selling that game for free, you're not making any money on that either. Have you made it more visible? Yes. Have you made it more available? Yes. But we're in a state now where the crown jewels of Sega, outside of a sale, are practically worthless. We live in a place in time where you can buy the original, Mario Brothers on the NES for like $15.99. You can buy the original Sonic for like 99p. Oh no, I didn't spend my 79p or whatever the frick it was to get Knights previously, and now it's free. If they weren't interested, people weren't interested in getting Knights, and fuck me, they should be, because bloody hell, Knights is amazing. If they weren't interested in getting Knights for 79p, what difference does it make if people are then happy to get it for free? Zero. Net nothing. So how could this have been done better? How could they have actually used this prototype in a sane, sensible way, got permissions? They could have still released it. Well, doesn't take a lot of thought, frankly. You have 12 months in a year. What's to stop you over the course of this period? And you can time it in with releases that you've got coming up, and you can tie it in with anniversaries that are coming up. Everyone was celebrating the launch of the Dreamcast, the anniversary for that. There's nothing stopping you doing a whole host of things. But instead of making a mockery out of one of your IPs, because that's all they've managed to do, all they've managed to do is damage the IP. Which part of this publicity, Sega, is good for you at present? Not a hell of a lot, I'm guessing. All they had to do is go, "Hey, once a month, we'll focus on one of our IPs, one of our historical IPs. And they could have also done at the same time, focused on some of the history of the hardware platforms. They could have done one of those every couple of months, maybe. Gone into some of the early stuff. Gone into some of the pinball machines, the arcade division, the amusement division. Doing the little history pieces. And you could do that. You could do history pieces on these very important IP. Things that people have grown up with, that are super fond of, that people playing them even now. And you could go into those. It doesn't need to be Sonic. Sonic's its own bloody thing. Sonic will do its 30th anniversary. Hey, did you know there's a 30th anniversary this year? Of course it's a fucking 30th anniversary, you fucking stupid idiots. You could just do that for Golden Axe, for Puyo Puyo, for Space Channel 5, for Shining Force, for Yakuza. All of those you could go into, do an interview, do a print thing. You can team up with fan sites. You can team up with specialist sites. And you can just do these historical pieces that put across the love that people have for the brands and the love that Sega has for the brands and why the brand is important to Sega. How difficult would that be? You take it all in-house, it's all properly produced, you put out a big thing, and then you can generate interest from it that way. And then you can go into, as part of that, the games that never made it. All franchises have games that never made it. Streets of Rage. How many bloody Streets of Rage 4 versions were in development before we finally got Streets of Rage 4 now? There was at least 3 of them, to my knowledge, in the bloody 3 or 4 years that I was at Sega. And, the couple of years before. At least 3 versions of Streets of Rage 4 that never made it. At least as far as I'm aware. There are so many things that don't make it. So many that do make it do get left on the cutting room floor. And if you do want to make use of them, then you can by doing that. And you can say, hey, there are games, there's versions that didn't make it for one reason or another, and here's some of the concept art from that, and look how fantastic it is. You can speak to the designers and what they were going to try and do, take and get them involved, and you can say the influences, and if stuff from those games then made their way into future iterations, you can say that. And you can do stuff about things that are important, like Sakura Wars and other franchises that don't necessarily get the light of day but potentially could. All those ones that are sitting on the shelf that that started to get the ball rolling, started to get those remakes or sequels by other studios. You can use those to promote those, and then you can release those in development games. You can still do that, but then you're doing it because you love the brand and you want people to see more of the history of it and why it's so amazing, as opposed to it being a fucking punchline. It would be so easy for them to do that. To choose to do that, to take a high road. But of course not. Of course not. Why build up? Why put in effort to set a new foundation for things that you can build on when you can get a few hours worth of buzz? For a company that is in the marketing process of saying how much love there is for the brand and for the things that make it and the people that make it, they haven't got a goddamn motherfucking clue. But then again, what's new?
On iTunes, Spotify, and Radio Sega, you're listening to Radio Redux.
2 tracks for you there. First of all, from Parasite Eve, Out of Phase. And then after that, we had from Star Wars Squadrons, far more recent game, Taking No Prisoners. Wonder why the hell I chose those 2 tracks. Who the hell knows? That's it. We're not really going to have anything more than music for the rest of the show, because I think, 25 minutes of me just going full bore is more than enough for one episode of Radio Redux. So up next, we've got a couple more tracks. I've again no idea why I've picked these particular ones, but we've got Ode to Greed from PAYDAY 2, a game I'm getting very much back into. By the way, looking forward to every time I boot up PAYDAY 2 at the minute. It's great, and it's a nice counterpoint to the Dead by Daylight I'm playing. So we've got that with its Simon Vickland and his strange operatic section that he has in the middle of this. It's not the techno. It's not the instrumental techno one. It's the one with the actual operatic stuff in it. And then after that, we had one last time. I think last time Radio Redux was around, we actually had a track from John Wick Hex. Or did that get left on the cutting room floor for time purposes? I don't know. But Austrian Winter is John Hex soundtrack. We've got the Uncaged Bear. Those are your next 2 tracks, and I'll tell you what the ones that are coming up after that are. After that, if you see what I mean. The Uncaged Bear from John Wick Hex. Coming up next, we got ourselves a couple of very different tracks from very different games indeed, and ones that don't get really played often on or even considered for video game related shows. We have one from the Jackbox series of games, and we have one from a long established Bandai Namco fighting series. First up, we've got from Jackbox Party Pack 4, the theme song from Bracketeering, which is a lot better than the actual game, to be honest. Bracketeering is kind of crappy. But the track here is good, is really good. And next, after that, we've got from Hiroki Kikuta? I think that is. Hiroki Kikuta, from the Soul Calibur 5 soundtrack. It's the track Where Springs Not Fail. And tonally, it's very different to the rest of the album. Enjoy.
For 15 years, bringing you the best in video game music. This is Radio Redux.
It's almost time for Sega Mixer Drive, if you're listening to this as it premieres on Radio Sega. So if you are listening, do stick around to find out what's happening with Rexy this particular week. Up next, though, we've got our final 2 tracks for the day. First up, we've got a little bit of culture, ladies and gents. We're going to Japan to listen to the Tokyo Philharmonic as they perform Final Fantasy VI, The Dream Oath, Maria, and Draco. Or at least part of it. The actual piece itself is something like 23 minutes long. So, unsurprisingly, unless I really wanted to anger the aforementioned Rexy, we're not going to be playing that. What we're going to be playing is like the first 5 minutes from that. But it's part of the Orchestral Game Concert 4 album that they did from 1994, as it happens. And what we have to follow that is from the Street Fighter 2 Capcom Generations remixes from the collection that they did. The remixed version of Zangief's theme. Who is not a bad guy. Those are your 2 coming up. I will see you in what will now be 3 weeks' time. Unless another video game company does something fucking stupid. I'm kind of hoping Go Fuck Yourself Parasites becomes a meme. Because, hey, they want them so badly. I'll be back in few weeks' time. Okay. Unless anyone does anything stupid. In which case, I'll get off my sick bed again, as necessary. Here's Final Fantasy VI. See you soon.